Hey, got it. All right. Hello, and thank you all for joining me. I'm Jennifer Smith, your friendly neighborhood naturopath. I am not a medical doctor, and this information has not been evaluated by the FDA. Therefore, it is not intended to cure, treat, prevent, or diagnose any disease. This is for general educational purposes only. So please speak with your healthcare practitioner for advice specific to your unique condition. I'll be giving you the inside scoop tonight with today's topic of improving and maintaining gut health or a healthy microbiome, a healthy gut microbiome. So as usual, we've got 30 minutes of content followed by 9 minutes of Q&A that I'll read from the chat, and then that way we'll wrap up in 39 minutes. So you've probably heard the famous quote by Hippocrates that all disease begins in the gut. And I thought how prophetic of a statement to make 2,500 years ago, because now an estimated 70 million people struggle with gastrointestinal diseases in America. And I personally believe that the ancillary health conditions that develop as a result of poor gut health and also the pharmaceutical drugs prescribed for them likely dwarfs this number. What is the gut microbiome and why does it even matter? Well, your body is a collection of ecosystems called microbiomes, and this really refers to the community of microorganisms that primarily bacteria, but it can also be viruses, bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms that cohabitate together in that particular bodily system. So, for example, your eyes have their own microbiome. Your mouth has its own microbiome. Your skin has its own microbiome. Your lungs have its own microbiome. But the spotlight has been on the gut microbiome in recent years, and with good reason. The microbial this microbial system plays a crucial role in digestion, nutrient assimilation or absorption, immune function, even mental health. And so the gut microbiome is really at the heart of the gut-brain axis that I'm sure you've heard of, and it's also referred to as your second brain. And among other things, the reason for that is because your gut produces more serotonin and dopamine, those happy hormones, much more than your upper brain does. And furthermore, the gut houses at least 70% of your body's immune cells. So those are some very good reasons to improve and maintain gut health. But poor gut health also directly correlates to like skin conditions, constipation, diarrhea, fatigue, brain fog, autoimmune disease, and so much more. So it really is at the heart of a lot. So I think I'll start out just by going over really what causes or contributes to leaky gut or gut dysbiosis. There are several different names for it and several different kind of caveats, but we'll just call it gut dysbiosis. It's basically an imbalance. But as you might imagine, it's a lot of the usual suspects that I talk about a lot on these calls that contribute to gut dysbiosis. So I would say number one would be a lot of pharmaceutical drugs, primarily antibiotics. That's a big one, but also proton pump inhibitors. So things like Nexium, Prilosec, even just general antacids, Tums, Rolaids, things like that. Metformin for type 2 diabetes, which I mean, I know that some people really, really need that, but I'm just saying it can definitely contribute to gut dysbiosis. NSAIDs, like, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen or aspirin, that definitely contributes to it. And also psychotropic meds like antidepressants. Those are some big contributors to gut dysbiosis. Vaccines are another big contributor, and especially the COVID shots. And, gosh, after 22 years of researching this subject, I still don't know why it's so polarizing. I don't know why it is such a controversial topic, but it does directly contribute to dysbiosis. Let's see what else here. Let's see, chronic stress, that's probably a no-brainer. And again, that kind of goes back to your second brain. So chronic stress definitely throws off the microbiome, causes acidity when you don't want it, the bad type of acidity, and it kind of harms the good bacteria and feeds the bad bacteria. Same as seed oils. And I know I talk about seed oils a lot, and I'm primarily referring to like corn, soy, canola, and cottonseed oil. They're what you find in almost any kind of processed food, fast food, and in fact, most restaurant food in general, because they use those oils for frying foods. They use the oils in all kinds of sauces. And let's see what else. They use the oils. I mean, salad dressings, just about anything you can think of. So when you're cooking at home, when you're cooking from scratch, you're always going to be better off. It's definitely going to help contribute to healthy gut microbiome. Let's see what else. Glyphosate. Oh my gosh, I know I talk about glyphosate a lot, and it is the primary ingredient, the active ingredient in Roundup, but it's also an ingredient in a lot of other herbicides now because it went patent some years ago, and so now you're going to find it in most herbicides, and glyphosate is among other things, it's devastating to the gut microbiome. It also causes all kinds of, cancers and everything else. But you're going to find glyphosate in things like, well, again, processed food and especially genetically modified foods. And I often mention corn, soy, canola, cottonseed oil. You'll find those in any kind of processed foods, fried foods, things like that. You'll even find glyphosate in vaccines. Even alcoholic beverages, a lot of wines contain glyphosate, beer, things like that. Tap water, unfortunately, it's water soluble, and so because of that, it's in our air, it's in our tap water, it's in a lot of things. And let's see what else. Gosh, well, also grains, and grains are another thing that actually contribute to poor gut health, and a lot of that, part of the reason is because that is a big thing that is used on grains is glyphosate, because it's used as a desiccant. So technically, most grains, except for corn, most grains are technically not genetically modified, but they spray glyphosate on them if for no other reason. They spray them at the very end of the season, right before they go to harvest them, because it used to be years ago when farmers would harvest whatever the grain was, wheat, let's say wheat, or even corn, even. Depending upon what it was used for, oats, they used to effectively have to lay it out to dry or die on these drying racks, because the middleman wouldn't buy it until it was dry or dead, because otherwise he knew that if he put it in the grain elevators, it would mold and rot. And so farmers were taught, I don't know, 25 years ago probably, that if they just douse the whole field of wheat or whatever that grain was right at harvest time, it would kill it almost immediately. It would dry it out and kill it immediately, and then they could harvest it and get paid right away. But unfortunately, then that wheat would be ground into flour and other things, and that's not something that you could rinse off or peel off or anything like that you can with other plants. So for that main reason and others, grains can be highly irritating to the gut lining. Also, certain medical procedures can definitely contribute to gut dysbiosis, and one glaring example would be gallbladder removal. And I'll try to make this quick, but the gallbladder is directly tied to the liver, and when the gallbladder is removed, the liver is now doing the job of two organs, two glands. And so when you eat, um, you've always got bile there that it's just drip, drip, dripping when you don't need it. And when you do need it, there's not enough of it. I could talk about gallbladder removal all night long, but I guess that's the shortest version. So there are several different medical procedures that can directly affect the gut microbiome. And I would say the gallbladder removal is a glaring one. So if you can save your gallbladder by loving on the liver, by all means, do that. It really goes back to the liver. But and then also I mentioned grains and dairy. Grains and dairy can cause further irritation to the gut lining and cause gut dysbiosis. So those are some main things that cause an irritated or contribute to gut dysbiosis. So, it's important to note that digestion actually begins in the mouth. So when you eat food, you start to chew, and your body you produce saliva, and saliva contains an enzyme called amylase. And what amylase does is it further breaks down our food in addition to chewing. So you want to make sure you chew thoroughly. So it breaks down your food even further. And amylase is also a signaling enzyme. So it signals down to your gut and basically says, hey guys, heads up, food is on its way. And so then that triggers other digestive enzymes, pancreatic enzymes, bile to be produced when your digestive system knows that food is on its way. So I can't stress enough the importance of just chewing properly. And I know in America we're quick, fast food. Everything is pretty fast paced, and just something as simple as taking your time to thoroughly chew your food is going to help nurture your gut and promote healthy digestion. But so yeah, proper chewing. Water consumption. Try to I am a big fan of staying properly hydrated, but when you're eating, you want to avoid keep a window free of not drinking a whole lot of water right before and right after you eat, because if you drink too much water during a meal, that can actually help or not help. It can actually dilute some of your healthy digestive enzymes that you need. And so you don't want to guzzle a lot of water while you're eating, small amounts, maybe 4 ounces throughout your whole meal is probably a safer amount. So just some things to keep in mind. And then also, I will say I used to be a big fan of bubble gum, and I still do chew gum every now and then. But if you think about it, I mentioned how chewing is where digestion begins. Digestion begins in your mouth. And if you're chewing gum, but then you're not eating, if you're just chewing gum at an off time, think about what that can do. You're chewing, you're producing amylase. It's signaling down to your gut that food is on its way to produce additional digestive enzymes, including hydrochloric acid. And then no food comes. And hydrochloric acid is something that's big for breaking down your food. And if food is not coming, is not following that whole process, that can kind of eat away and erode your gut lining and cause digestive problems. So if you're going to chew gum, chewing it either right before or right after a meal is kind of more the ideal time. But in between meals, not so much, or only just very briefly. So just a little pointer there. So let's talk about some ways to improve gut health. Obviously, it may be common sense to kind of think back to the list that I just went over on things that cause gut dysbiosis. So obviously avoiding seed oils and avoiding GMOs, opting for organic when you can. And again, the most common genetically modified crops are corn, soy, canola, and cotton. And people tend to think, well, I don't eat cotton, but You do eat cottonseed oil. That's you're going to find that in a lot of processed foods. So avoiding seed oils and just GMOs in general, genetically modified food. So opting for organic when you can. Avoiding grains. You know, we eat an awful lot of grains in America, and we tend to think of corn as a vegetable, and it's really not. It's a grain, and the majority of the corn in America, over 95%, is genetically modified. So if you're going to consume corn, whether it's tortilla chips or otherwise, again, opt for organic and try not to overdo it too much. But and then when you are consuming wheat products, a few options there would be a fermented wheat, like sourdough, for example. Sourdough bread, you're going to digest that and process that so much better, so much more easily than you would conventional, regular bread, even more so than whole grain bread, which we're taught. So fermented grains or soaked grains are always going to be much easier on the digestive system. Let's see, I'm probably forgetting, and obviously organic when you do eat other grains, oats or whatever. I'm probably forgetting some things there with regard to grains. But anyway, also going back to that I had mentioned of items that cause gut dysbiosis, consider natural solutions to the pharmaceutical drugs that I had mentioned. So for example, and again, these are not recommendations because I cannot, I don't know if you're on pharmaceutical drugs that will have interactions, but just some suggestions or just some examples to consider might be oregano essential oil instead of antibiotics. Garlic is also a natural antibiotic, fantastic. Fresh garlic, by the way. I wouldn't go with garlic powder. Digestive enzymes as opposed to proton pump inhibitors, sunshine or vitamin D or even exercise as opposed to antidepressants, things like L-glutamine or apple cider vinegar as opposed to antacids. Because, it's kind of funny when people take antacids, we actually need acid, hydrochloric acid to break down our food, but we need the right type of acid. So something like apple cider vinegar can help with that. So just some things to consider there. Again, I have to be careful with recommendations based on pharmaceuticals that people are on. Another thing to avoid is soft drinks, soda, pop, wherever you're from. The high sugar content of them dramatically reduces your good bacteria because we all have beneficial bacteria. In fact, we have far more bacteria in us than we have cells, DNA, I should say. So what soda or soft drinks do is they dramatically reduce the good bacteria and it feeds the bad bacteria. So, and then also the carbonation irritates the gut lining, and yeah, that is just one of the worst things that you can do for gut health is consuming soda or soft drinks, pop, whatever it's called where you're from, and then also avoiding artificial sweeteners. So it doesn't matter if that's a standard. It doesn't matter if it's Pepsi or if it's Diet Coke or whatever. They're all quite bad for you. Synthetic or artificial sweeteners like aspartame, Splenda, which is sucralose, saccharin, all of those are quite bad for your. They actually alter your microbial composition, let's say. And then, excuse me, one thing that I think I can make a recommendation for without harming anyone, without any drug interactions, would be vitamin C. Vitamin C is, I think, an unsung hero on so many levels, but it actually helps increase your beneficial bacteria, your bifidobacteria in the gut. So that's important, and make sure that if you're supplementing with vitamin C versus getting it from fruit, for example, make sure you're going with a high quality vitamin C. So you don't want to get the cheap, like from, I don't know, Walmart or or Walgreens or anything like that, you don't want to buy just a cheap ascorbic acid because that chances are that's going to be coming from genetically modified corn. It's a far inferior form of vitamin C. You want to opt for a whole food based vitamin C, such as from, let's see, from like maybe rose hips or from citrus bioflavonoids, camu camu, amla, Indian gooseberry, goji berry, things like that, Oregon grape, gosh, I'm trying to think of some other natural forms. I know I'm forgetting some, but there are some fantastic whole food based forms of vitamin C that you can get in supplementation form. So that's going to be good for your gut health. Let's see, fermented foods. So you've probably heard of things like yogurt, kombucha, kefir. Let's see, yogurt, kombucha, kimchi would be another one. Sauerkraut, and again, you're opting for quality. So, for example, you want to go for the sauerkraut that's either going to be produced maybe by a local farmer or in the refrigerated section versus the packs that are shelf stable. Same with yogurt. You don't want to get yogurt that's loaded with sugar and all kinds of sweeteners and things like that. You want to get the real thing, preferably homemade. But fermented foods are going to be fantastic for helping to build up the beneficial bacteria in your gut. And then also things like garlic, onions, artichokes, fantastic for gut health. And another thing would be gelatinous foods. And what I say by gelatinous foods, that would include, let's see, okra would be an example, chia seeds. Let's see, okra, chia, aloe vera. And then bone broth is another thing. Bone broth can be gelatinous, especially as it cools, especially homemade bone broth, for example. So those would be some examples of. I feel like I'm forgetting something here, but gelatinous foods are always going to be good for gut health. And then just general managing hydration, sleep, and stress. That kind of goes without saying. So we're going to go ahead and start talking patching. And for those of you who are new to this call, what we're talking about here is a wearable form of phototherapy. And so rather than standing in front of or inside of a phototherapy machine, such as a red light machine, these patches are tapping into your own body as the power source. And I'm currently wearing several of these phototherapy patches. I've got one that you can see right here. I've got one behind my neck and other areas of the body. But what they do is they tap into your own body as the power source by reflecting back wavelengths of light that we all naturally emit as mammals. And so every one of you on this call right now is emitting light from your cells, from your DNA. And at the moment of conception is when that begins. And so these patches, think of them as little mirrors. They're just reflecting back that infrared light, but specific wavelengths of light. And this company, LifeWave, produces 10 different patches. So each of those patches contains a different crystal lattice structure in the middle that acts as that reflective mechanism, that acts as that chiral, that mirror to reflect back the specific wavelengths of light that we're naturally emitting to produce these beneficial changes that I'll be talking about in the body. So and they're so simple to use. You simply wear each patch for 12 hours a day while you're fully hydrated. So, for example, your 12-hour window might be 6 to 6, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Another person's 12-hour window might be 8 to 8. So it's whatever works with your schedule. And some of the patches are designed to be worn during the daytime only. Others are recommended for a 12-hour window at overnight time. And then some of the patches can be worn either or, day or night. And so I am going to just focus on two patches tonight because, you could say that there are multiple patches that LifeWave produces that can help contribute to gut health. But I'm just going to focus on these two that I think really stand out as stars. And the first one here is X39. Of course, X39, those of you who are already patching, You know that this does so much for the body. And the way it works is it reflects back wavelengths of light back into the body to elevate the GHK copper peptide, which resets over 4,000 genes to a younger, healthier state and causes your stem cells, your dormant stem cells, pluripotent stem cells, to rise in tandem with them. And so let's first kind of touch on the benefits of the GHK copper peptide, because right now, peptides are kind of a big buzzword. So many people are injecting themselves with peptides that they're buying online. And, I'm just like everything else, whether it's pharmaceutical drugs or otherwise, I'm not telling you this from a standpoint of judgment, but I'm just saying when you're injecting other peptides, exogenous peptides into the body rather than elevating your own, there's a lot to take into consideration. So first of all, you want to consider the purity of those peptides that you're getting, and because most injectable peptides are have not been well, they're not FDA approved, which, except for like Ozempic and insulin, but the FDA is trying to kind of get their claws on peptides, and so they've got a list of them right now that are on the Schedule 2 list for potential banning. But right now, most of them are available for use as a science experiment. That's kind of the loophole of how people are able to purchase them. They're not approved for human use. And so when you're buying those online, you're responsible for the purity of them, and also the concern of where they're coming from or who they're coming from. Are they coming from an animal? Are they coming from a person? Or are they synthetic? So that's how most of them are. And then also there are some dosing considerations to take into account. So, some peptides you have to dose them a certain number of days on, a certain number of days off. Some of them you increase the dose as you go along, others you decrease the dose as you go along. So you really kind of have to know what you're doing and get some guidance. You also have to make sure that you're purchasing those peptides from a purity source, or I should say from a company that uses third-party testing to test for purity and harmful microbes and things like that. So anyway, back to this, I always say, don't take it if you can make it. So rather than getting an exogenous peptide injection from who knows where, the X39 patch elevates your own GHK copper peptide that the body produces naturally, but declines with age, like a lot of things. So this patch reflects back wavelengths of light to elevate that back to when you were younger. And the GHK copper peptide has a wide range of benefits, including accelerating wound healing. So you hear about leaky gut. Well, that is a wound effectively. And also stimulating collagen production. Again, don't take it if you can make it. And what is if you think about a very common supplement that people are using for gut health, collagen. People are getting collagen peptide powders and drinking them. So by elevating your own native endogenous collagen, there's no concern of where that other collagen is coming from. And your body is always making the perfect collagen that's suitable for your body. You never have to be concerned about the quality of it. And also, you're never going to overdose with your own peptides or your own collagen, for example. So the X39 elevates the GHK copper peptide for wound healing, for collagen production, and so much more. And then when you're elevating stem cells at the same time, because those happen in tandem, those two functions, your stem cells are known as the holy grail for healing, repair, and regeneration, whether it be for gut health, whether it be for heart health, whether it be for the brain. It's whatever your body needs. So we're talking about elevating pluripotent stem cells, meaning they can differentiate and become whatever is most needed in the body first. And then the other patch that I'd like to, and by the way, I should say that the X39 patch is recommended for daytime use. because while none of the patches have any side effects, they do have plenty of side benefits. And one of the many side benefits of X39 is that it causes an increase in energy for most of us. And so you want to experience that during the daytime. Deeper sleep at night as well, even though you wear it during the daytime, 12 hours. And then the other patch I'd like to focus on is the ALAVIDA patch. It looks just like the X39 patch unless you're looking at it under a microscope, but it's that crystal lattice structure on the inside in the middle that's different. And what the ALAVIDA patch does is it's reflecting back wavelengths of light that elevate the epithalamin peptide that your pineal gland produces. And, again, a lot of people are getting epitalin or epitalon peptide injections. Well, epitalin or epitalon, however you pronounce it, that is the synthetic version of epithalamin. And so you're always going to be better off to elevate your body's own native levels of these peptides versus getting an exogenous injection. So, what is epithalamin or the synthetic form epitalin known for? Well, it's known for a lot of things. It's known for lengthening your telomeres, for example. That's a fantastic benefit. It's also known for helping your pineal gland to produce more optimal levels of melatonin, the sleep hormone, which I mentioned sleep can have a direct uh, correlation to gut health. But also, what the epithalamin peptide is really known for is healing the skin from the inside out, and that includes not just your exterior skin, which is your largest organ, very important, but also your interior skin. So think gut lining, esophageal lining, things like that. The ALAVIDA patch can be fantastic for improving gut health, overall gut health, because so many people have leaky gut and just problems with digestion that are directly related to harm caused by things like glyphosate and the other items that I mentioned. Um, anyway, again, you don't have to worry about dosing or any other considerations. You simply wear these patches for 12 hours a day, 12 hours on and 12 hours off while you're fully hydrated. So, before I start reading questions in the chat, and I hope to see a lot of them in here tonight, I'd just like to remind you to please connect with the person who invited you to this call if you'd like to purchase LifeWave's fantastic phototherapy patches. And that person can help you to determine what patches might be the most suited for you and also help you to get a quality, legitimate product because you're finding some counterfeit products online, so you don't want that to happen. But that person can help you get a legitimate product at the best possible pricing. So I'll go ahead and jump into the chat and see if there are any questions here and hopefully stay online. So let's see here. Yes, what about organic sprouted bread? Organic rice, okay to eat or can contribute? Okay, good question. So yeah, I look at sprouted grains really the same way as fermented. So yeah, I should have mentioned that sprouted, fermented, or soaked grains are absolutely going to be much better for the your digestive system to digest more so than just standard grains. So yes, if you're going to eat sprouted bread, a good example would be like Ezekiel bread. That would be an example of sprouted bread. Sourdough would be an example of fermented bread. So yeah, and then organic rice, in small amounts, certainly, no, there shouldn't be an issue there. And you can even get sprouted rice. So yeah, that is a great question there. Let's see, what's a better drink than water to have? Let's see, what's a better drink? Okay, to have while eating. Um, I guess the main thing is you don't want to dilute your digestive enzymes. So, drinking very little while eating is the best. But if you're the type of person who really needs something to drink while you're eating, I don't know, maybe kombucha might be a drink to consider while you're eating. But that's something that I actually I think many years ago, before I realized all this, I think I may have harmed my digestion by drinking while I was eating. I drank a lot of water. I used to drink a lot while I was eating, and it didn't even dawn on me I was diluting my digestive enzymes. So just keeping drinks in general to a minimum while you're eating. And then, just at least a 15 to 30-minute window before and after eating is ideal. And then let's see, where would Alavita patches be the best places to help with esophageal lining? That's a great question. So the patches work systemically throughout the whole body. However, we often do say patch the point of pain. So with that being said, I often recommend, if you've got an issue, and again, it depends on the patch, it depends on the health condition and all of that. But let's say the point of concern is something going on with the upper half of your body, then you may want to wear the patch maybe on the C7, the cervical 7 vertebrae, which is that bone that sticks out when you bend your head down. If it's something in the lower half of your body, you may want to wear the patch a couple finger widths below the belly button, below the navel, and that's what we call CV6, conception vessel 6. So when it comes to esophageal lining, it really could be either or. Gut lining, probably CV6. But again, the patches do work systemically throughout the whole body, and you really can't go wrong. But with regard to Alavita on the exterior lining, I really feel, or the exterior skin, I feel that I've benefited by wearing this patch for this area, the décolleté area, which is a dead giveaway with a woman's age. I often wear the Alavita patch right here while I sleep. And by the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned this or not, but the Alavita patch is recommended for nighttime use because one of the many side benefits is that it elevates your endogenous levels of melatonin a bit, your sleep hormone. So that's why the Alavita patch is recommended for nighttime use. Let's see. Okay, any other questions here? I think that's all, just those couple. And we are right at well, we're almost, I guess we started a couple of minutes late due to the recording issues. But it doesn't look like there are any other questions in here. So I guess I will just wrap this up and thank you all for joining me here. And we'll be back here next Wednesday as usual. It's always live at 5, Wednesday Wellness live at 5 Eastern. And I'll post this online, the recording here, in case you missed the beginning of it. But thank you again so much for joining me here, and I will hopefully see you next Wednesday for another Wednesday Wellness call. So thanks again, and let's love on your gut microbiome because it does impact so many other things in your body. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.